Welcome back to another episode of The Missing Link in Your Healing. This is the place where we try and bring missing links in the healing puzzle so that you can help yourself become your own healer from the inside out. Our goal is to awaken and empower the healer inside of you. And something we promised in the beginning is to bring stories of people who have walked or are walking this journey of a very holistic journey of dealing with their diagnosis or healing and thriving through it. And so it's with great excitement and passion that I introduce Dr. Amy Behimer. And Amy, I don't think I'm going to say too much about you, except that you are a board certified health and wellness coach, and you have a doctorate in pharmacy. And you both live with autoimmune disease and you help other women or people, I assume, with autoimmune to feel better and function better, and you seem to base your work on simple science-based habits. But I do know you also approach what you do, your own healing, and how you help others with a very holistic approach. So I'm very excited to hear what you've got to say. You have a podcast, you're a coach, you have a community group, I think. But we'll let you tell you everything about yourself at the end, and I'll put links in the show notes. And I loved what you said in your bio, is that you help people move away from doing everything right and into a sustainable approach that fits in with their real life. And that you believe that health is not built with perfection or willpower, but by learning the skill of habit change with clarity, compassion, and support. So we fully endorse the fact that healing is learned, and we have more power in our own hands than we know. So I think what would be beautiful to kick off is, could you share your story from the beginning? You are living with 2 or 3 autoimmune diseases still. We're talking about, I didn't say what we're talking about today. That's hilarious.
That's okay.
We are going to approach autoimmune disease from the perspective of Amy's story, how she very successfully lives with a couple of autoimmune diseases, how she has used that to inspire and help other people. So, Dr. Amy, welcome. God, I got that all backwards. But anyway,
Oh, you
very
did.
happy to have you
You
here.
you did perfect. You did perfect. So I've
Welcome.
actually
Thank you.
thank you. In my 41 years, I've had 4 diagnoses of autoimmunity. But thankfully now live with one, maybe one and a half. But let me describe. So when I was in my teens, I was diagnosed with vitiligo. So if anybody's familiar, it's the autoimmune condition of the skin where you lose some pigment. So some parts of my body, it's a little whiter than other parts of the body. So that's number one. That's when I kind of planted the seed of what is this autoimmune thing? So then in my 20s, I went to pharmacy school. I started learning more and more about autoimmune disease. And I knew it wasn't something that I wanted more of because I already had this one. But next came a thyroid diagnosis called Graves' disease. And I started just getting this sense that something was not right. Autoimmune diseases, they like to cluster. I like to say that they are our body whispering to us that something is not right, it's not happy with something. And it was when I was 27 that I say my body decided to scream at me and say, this is not right. And I got my diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, which is a autoimmune disease that affects the nervous system. And it is really a turning point. I mean, it really was a life quake that had me really looking at, my life, my lifestyle, and led me to this work. The fourth diagnosis, IBD, is inflammatory bowel disease. On biopsy, this might be too many details that people aren't that interested in, but on biopsy, it looked like I had an autoimmune inflammatory bowel disease, but I was always very constipated, so that kind of was a different clinical picture. But since then, in the past 10, 12 years since I've been really living this second part of my life and the way I live it, the one that remains is the MS and the multiple sclerosis. So that's my autoimmune story in a nutshell.
A multiple sclerosis is a diagnosis, I think, that terrifies people. So I'm so excited for you to share how you live such an incredible life with it or through it.
Well, it terrifies people and it terrified me. I have given presentations in my life, in my professional career, on multiple sclerosis. And if you've ever been to an academic presentation, there's always a slide that talks about, well, what is this? And the words that describe MS are chronic, neurodegenerative, progressive, debilitating. It's not that these words aren't true. It's not that these words don't depict some of what is happening. But if that is the only side of the street that we look at, then that is what we are going to create more and more of. And so, what really got me into this work is I noticed that, you mentioned at the beginning that I use habits. I love habits. The science of habits, not only how they can help us and help our bodies, how we feel better when we, have better lifestyle habits and how our bodies can function better. But I also love the scientific research that has gone on how to change them in a way that feels good, that feels sustainable, that feels loving to ourselves and not like we're punishing ourselves. And so when I was first diagnosed, and I have some, they'll probably come out throughout our whole conversation. I have some very different ways to look at and use habits. So the very traditional form of how we eat, how we move, those things, it's a part of it. But in order for me to help heal myself in the words we're talking here, I had to figure out what am I habitually thinking? How am I habitually feeling? And I can tell you, I was thinking, well, this sucks. My life will always be worse, which had me feeling fear, doom, and those habitual feelings are not anywhere that people want to live. I didn't want to live with those habitual feelings. It didn't matter what I was doing on the outside. My body was comfortable and it was, in that habitual fear. And so recognizing that the thought, my life will always be a little bit worse with MS, like that's just the way it is, that was a thought and not a fact, that changed everything. And it was a coach that first introduced and showed me that. I love coaching so much because an outsider can show us our brain in such a more beautiful way than we're ever able to. And I kind of said it and she looked, she goes, that's not true. I mean, there are people that's lives get better. And I'm like, oh, wait, I want to be one of those people. And from that thought, practicing it, and didn't happen overnight, I promise you. When people come, and start working with me, they find it hard to believe that we can decide what we want to believe and then practice it and make it a habit. But very quickly, they're like, wow, wait, this does work. And so, again, approaching it with this habit maker mindset that we just need the repetitions. We need to redirect our brain when it wants to go down the path of fear and progression. And it's not, again, it's not that it's not there. We're not toxic positivity is a buzzword right now. It's not only saying things are great, it's saying, you know what, things could be bad on this side, and let's add some greatness too.
So, would you say that well, I'd love you just to talk us through like how you would deal or coach somebody to deal with, because a diagnosis like that or cancer comes with terror. And I mean, that's completely natural. So let's take that as the thought process. I mean, for me, actually, I had to look at a lifetime of fearful thought processes, not just the
Yes.
one I had when I got cancer, but I think we could loop back to that. But if you could take us through, are you willing to take us through the small process of, so the absolute terror or fear, let's say, of the diagnosis,
Yes.
but not just the false positivity of going, oh, I'm well now and I'm going to be fine.
Yeah, I love that. Are you willing to be my subject?
Yes,
Okay,
definitely.
so what we're going to do, you kind of mentioned some people instantly know the things they're thinking. Some people instantly know the things they're feeling. And they are closely connected. So we can find what that belief, which is really just a thought that we have thought so many times it feels true, we can find what the belief is either through the feeling or
Okay.
through the thought. So you've said a couple times that that fear, that terror, for you when you were diagnosed, do you remember what you were thinking or do you remember most just that fear or that terror?
Oh, it was disbelief for me because I was very healthy. I was like,
Yeah.
this is not happening to me.
Okay.
but but maybe when I was further in, yeah, I think let's just deal with it because fear is something that's been run underpinning my life, not
All
just
right.
with that diagnosis, which is one of the reasons I got sick and I can still. So let's maybe work with fear and terror.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in that moment, if we can go back to you and feeling the fear, I like to think of it like you're watching a movie and you like pause it and it's like, what is that character thinking? You in that moment, what do you think you were thinking that was causing the fear? Because we always have something, a sentence running through our mind that is causing the fear. What was that?
Well, for me, it was this chemo is going to cause a heart attack and
Yeah.
or it's going to do something awful to me. My fear was more around the chemo than anything. So
Yeah.
I'm like lying in bed and my heart's racing and I'm like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to have a heart attack tonight.
Okay, that's so good to know because it's specific. And, we could talk to 10 people living through this terror or fear with cancer, and I bet you we would find 10 different thoughts.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is to know what yours is because that is what is running in your brain
Oh, interesting.
subconsciously, but
Yeah.
also there are probably quite a few subconsciously that are feeding it, that are keeping it alive and well. So looking
Yes.
at that thought of this chemo is going to kill me tonight, we can look and say, wow, if that's true, of course I'm afraid. Like my brain is telling me this
Mm.
chemo is going to take me tonight. And so what we do next is we look and we do not, our body's not going to believe us if we try to switch that to I'm going to be fine and ride off into the sunset on roses. It's going to be too far. So what we need to find is just a bridge or a ladder belief that feels true to you. It has to feel true. It can't be a mantra that doesn't feel true. That feels true, but is just a little less emotionally activating and really tearing up our body, that fear response. So how would you want to feel in those moments when you were feeling fear? What is a feeling that you would like to feel? Even if it's neutral, it doesn't need to be great, but what's a different feeling that you would rather be feeling than fear?
Well, I think safety and a sense of knowing that it's going to be what it's going to be, but the potential for me not to die is also huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
So
And I
so safe,
didn't die,
yeah.
clearly.
Yeah, you're here. So safe. So like that, the first thing that came up, you're like, God, I'd like to feel safe. So then what we do is we find what is a thought that if I practice it, if I keep coming back to it, if I redirect my brain there, I will start to build the neural pathways that want to go down to this line of thinking. And if I'm offering one for you, it would probably be something like, you know what? Chances are pretty high. I'm not going anywhere tonight. And kind of said in that softness of, this is chances are pretty high. Like I hear you, that is a possibility, but chances are pretty high. And for me, it was, and I remember, I mean, I've written this sentence so many times because practicing these things, it's one thing to practice it in our brain. I call it doing repetitions of these, just like a repetition at a gym. It's one thing to practice in our mind, but when we write it, when we tell someone about it, when we have an image that reminds us of it, it takes it from mind to matter and starts to make it real. And it starts to strengthen that pathway. So the one that I've written thousands of times was, it is possible that my life doesn't have to be worse. And you see that difference because my body can believe that because it's like I'm giving myself
Mm.
the flexibility to say, you know what, it's possible. And so from that, my curiosity took over versus the impending doom. And when we're feeling curious, we do different things. Reached out to this person. I paid attention to, a coach that was first, doing, you start to do different things. I say, oh wow, what if I eat this? What if I do that? And we just act from a different place. So
Mhm.
back to you, how does that feel, that thought that I offered? Or is there a different one that you could tell yourself in that moment when you were feeling so afraid that would help you feel safer?
Well, I really like that because you didn't say, oh, there's nothing to fear. You said there's a very strong potential that I'm not going to die. So, I mean, do you suggest that people feel the feeling of the fear, not just acknowledge the thought, but actually feel it, but then create the bridge to the possibility?
Such a good question. And this is how you'll know. So there's kind of three steps. There's the awareness, right? There is just this awareness piece of, oh, this thought is causing me a whole lot of pain. Then kind of what we talked about, we kind of went into the action, right? The okay, well, what if I try this thought to lessen the pain? You just touched on the middle step that needs to happen, especially if it feels like, "Wait, this isn't working. Why is my this new thought not taking?" And that's the allowance. That is allowing the feeling. And for some, you notice a thought and you're like, "Oh my gosh," like maybe something less heavy than a diagnosis or the fear of death. But sometimes you notice a thought and you're like, "That is really silly. Like, I don't want that thought. I'm going to practice this new one." I'm trying to think of a good example that would make sense. Um,
Well, I mean, my mind can, I work on my mind every day, almost every moment of every day, but my mind still has the tendency, my brain is wired to go to disaster and usually over small things. So it's like, oh, I'm like, and then I'm like, no, you're freaking out about
yeah,
something that's probably not true or is not going to happen.
yeah. Or a silly one would probably be, driving down the road, right? And I live in Atlanta, Georgia, so traffic is everywhere. And I notice, God, I am so frustrated with the traffic. And so I can look at, well, if I'm feeling frustrated, and that's not a pleasant feeling, right? I mean, our emotions are the language of our body. So if we're feeling these negative emotions, our cells are being bathed in these, like inflammatory emotions. So
Yeah.
I'll get real curious and I'll say, why are you feeling frustrated? What are you thinking? And what I'm
Oh,
thinking is, these people should not be on the road. That's ridiculous. They deserve to be on the road just as much as me. And so there, I don't feel like I need to spend time allowing the frustration. I just want to say, listen, they deserve to be here just as much as me. And then I
wow.
want to practice that and I want to shift it. But for fear for you and for fear for me,
Mm.
we do need to allow that. And if we can do it at the same time, we can practice new ones at the same time. But I do think that our bodies will be more resistant to adapting the new thought and belief if we haven't allowed them to be heard. And that allowance is that middle step, the awareness, the allowance, and the action or the adjustment.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Because it's different for different situations. But when it comes to physicality, I have found that the fear, as you know, the fear and the freak out about the symptom or the heart
Yeah.
pain is creating probably 50% more chance of the heart
Yes.
attack or the body not healing. But by the same token, you can't just go, oh, I'm not fearful. So it's a
Yeah.
balance. So thank you. That's beautiful. Beautifully put.
Well, and there's so many, if you're listening or your listeners and you think, well, I'm just not positive, or I just don't, I'm more of a pessimist, or a lot of people label themselves because they don't, they aren't even aware that there's a process to shift it. And so I saw
Yes.
this image once where it's, you know, if people are looking at a cup and wondering if it's half full or half empty, they're missing the point that that glass is refillable. So
I love
I
that. Oh,
I like
wow.
to say that for
I
me,
love
like
that.
I like to say if it feels like you'd like to do it, but it feels out of reach, I want to show the work behind it. Like there are steps that we take, we make it tangible because just
Okay.
feeling better and thinking more positive, that's not tangible. We want to talk through what this looks like in your real life. So,
Wow.
for example, something that I do to make it very real, if I'm I'm always working on new beliefs. So, I've been doing this 12, 14 years, and I
Mhm.
may have a new client who's working on a belief that's the first one they've ever worked on, but I'm here working on my new belief. So they see me doing the work with them. And
Oh,
so
I love that.
one of
I
the things I'm
love that. Yeah.
well, I mean, we're never done, and that's a good thing. If we enjoy the process, we're
Yes.
not in a rush. But one thing, like for this real life piece, is I am really working on this belief that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So, just for some
Wow.
context, my life with MS, physically, I'm a little bit slower and I want to live a slower life. I don't want to be going at this rushed pace. But it's been over 40 years of go, go, fast. You got to keep up. You got to keep up. So I'm trying to rewrite this where my brain finds the beauty in slowness, where I notice when I slow down and that it's okay. And one of the things I've been doing lately, if I don't have a
Wow.
pen to write it, is I have a hair tie on my wrist. So every time I notice I'm feeling some friction because I I feel like I'm not keeping up, or I couldn't do this, or I'm not going fast enough, that's my cue to say, you know what? Practice my thought. Practice, I call it a belief seed. It's like planting a seed of belief that we're going to
Wow.
nurture. And so when I practice my belief seed of, you know what, slow's okay here. Slow is good. Slow is good. I'll move my hair tie from one wrist to the other.
Oh,
And
wow. That's profound.
it's a
I mean, it's
physical,
so simple, but
so
it's
simple.
so, it's an action that you can, yeah.
Yeah. Make it real. It's making it real is
Yes.
intangible can really change a lot.
But can I ask you, because I'm only reflecting on my own journey. I mean, I most people know my story on the podcast, but just in case we've got new listeners from your side, I've had thyroid issues since I was in my 30s and I'm in my mid 60s. I had cancer nearly 9 years ago. I had fibromyalgia, which I got over completely, and I have or had a pancreatic issue last year. So, yes, I love that you say that it's a constant, ongoing journey. This because I think one of the things we've been fed out there and we've bought into, and it goes together with the time and everything. This whole paradigm that says we're either sick or we're healed. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it just isn't that way. Am I right? You can live with MS and look at you. You're a shining light. You look vibrantly healthy. You're taking out amazing work to the world. You're living your passion. Um,
I think there's another idea here that may be helpful if I may.
Please, yes.
When you say healing, when one of the first things that I realized, I saw a definition of health. And the definition in the dictionary is absence of symptoms or disease. So when I saw that, living with symptoms, living with a diagnosis that in probability will never go away, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, wait, so if I don't redefine health for me, then I can't say I'm healthy. In the same way with healing, what does healing mean to you, to me? And if we take control and define it,
Mm-hmm.
then there is nobody that can take it from us.
Wow.
And so I call it autoimmune health. And
I love
autoimmune
that.
health is the health we have, right? So right now, and a lot of my clients and a lot of people listening, if someone says, "Oh, how are you do? How's your health?" the first thing you're going to say is, well, my gut is this, I have this symptom, I have this disease, but we have health. Our heart is beating, our lungs are breathing, our
Mm.
hopefully maybe our kidneys are filtering fluid. So autoimmune health is the health we still have that we don't want to neglect. But
Wow.
here's the kicker, autoimmune health, and again, for anybody with, it doesn't have to be autoimmune disease, but healing. Autoimmune health is also the health I'm going to create because I got this diagnosis.
Yes, I love that.
So when I tell you my gut health is better because I eat different, my my metabolic health is better because I move more, my mental and my emotional health is better than it ever would have been.
Wow.
And so for everybody, like take back the word healing, take back the word healthy. And my version of autoimmune health is the health that, or it's actually, because we write these down, we want to see, like, you want to be able to say, God, I feel healthy. And it's the feeling of pride knowing I'm doing everything I can for my health to be there for those I love. And that's like a succinct version of I can say I'm healthy because when I look at that, I'm doing that. Because like you said, I mean, you're so kind to say I look vibrant. And yeah, I hope I look vibrant, but I also have very real symptoms. It's not because I've done this traditional version of healing that means I don't deal with any downs. I mean, humans, I think this is another belief that I offer people, especially in my group, that I think serves us really well. If we believe life is made with ups and downs,
Oh,
life is
absolutely.
life is 50-50. If we believe that in our bones, then when we are in a down, we
Mhm.
don't think things have gone wrong.
Oh, yes.
We just realize, oh, this is life. I mean, nature.
Yes, we've been conditioned, sorry, and socialized and
Yes.
everything to believe that it should be good and zen and happy, and that's just not the way life works. So
No, it's some of it. We can,
sometimes, yeah.
yeah. And I mean, nature has sun and moon. It has dormancy, it has bloom. Like we are nature. And so for us to expect that we don't have those same ups and downs, it's just learning that we don't need to add suffering to the downs by thinking we shouldn't be in the downs. Like I think a belief is nobody's getting out of this human life without the same amount of pain and the same, like nobody. And so it may look different. You may never see somebody's pain. You may
Yeah.
never um know everything, and that's okay. But that really changed things. I was anxious after the diagnosis of, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's another one? And really just sitting with that anxiety, kind of how you mentioned, feeling it and being like, oh, you don't have to go anywhere. You're my 50-50.
Oh, I love that. Because the thing is, I mean, the perspective we would come from, but I want to see how you feel about it, is that with a lot of illness, but autoimmune seems to be quite an unconscious, therefore brain based
Yeah.
reaction or
Yeah.
overreaction, maybe. Like, I don't know if that makes any sense. So I find in my life the it's very easy to become overreactive to a symptom that's not even a symptom. Like I look in the mirror and my skin looks yellow, and my mind's immediate go to is, oh, we might
Liver.
have liver cancer now. It's like,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, what? So it's this beautiful awareness,
Yeah.
compassionate self awareness. So I'd like to ask you a question though. Because when I started this journey 8.5 years ago, and I'd been on very many mindful practice courses, and I was very into that whole world, living a healthy life, etc. But I found that I could not catch my thoughts in the beginning. So I got a book on psychoneuroimmunology, and that's when I knew the message in my illness. I knew what had potentially triggered it, and I knew where I could take control of my healing. But I
Yeah.
knew it had to start with me thinking about what I was thinking and
Yeah.
observing my thoughts. But it was a bit of a shit show in the beginning, excuse my language, because
Oh,
I was like, And the
Yeah.
frustration, because we also very often A-type personalities, S-type people, it's like, I can't do this thing. I just had 200,000 thoughts and I've only just
Yes.
realized I've been looping in all these thoughts. So my question to you, because I love the way you bring the tools, is where did it start for you, or where do you start with your clients? Because I did all this on my own.
Yeah.
How do you how did you train yourself? Or because that's where it has to start. If we do not
Yeah.
have that
Yeah.
self-awareness, there's no starting point, because the thoughts are looping and
Yeah.
emotions that are often even unconscious are
Yeah.
just running the show and we don't even know it.
Yeah. Through my journey, I've developed, created a framework and an approach to help
Wow.
with this. And so, this show talks about the missing link. And for us, for you and I, the missing link, because we chatted about it, was this mindset piece, was
Yes.
this inner work. But here's the wild part. It may not be for everybody. And so again, the individuality
Interesting.
of helping someone find what their missing link is.
Oh, I love
And
that show.
I will say that a lot of people, this is the missing link. I think that we are in the majority, especially when we get really good at eating right, exercising, resting, because that's what's out there. People are,
Mhm.
claiming diets can change things. So
Mhm.
a lot of people have come to me. By the time they come to me, they really are frustrated because they've been working at the diet, they've been exercising, they've been trying to sleep. And so it's finding the missing link for you. And so I love that somebody will come to me and say, I really want to eat, less junk or, some sort of, I want to eat a certain way. I don't give any diet plans, exercise plans. I trust that you know what you want. I just help you follow through on it. And
Amazing.
so people will say, like, I want to follow these PT exercises, or I want to eat Mediterranean, or I want to, do these things. And we'll be talking, and I'll mention that, I have another member who her whole goal this year is to feel more joy. And people's minds are blown because they're like, wait, that can be the goal? Because it's like, why do you want to eat better? Well, how do you want to feel? So you can set goals for wanting to believe certain things, feel certain things, and do certain things. And they're all going to be related. And so, like I mentioned, some people, if it's food that is their missing link, maybe because they are eating a ton of junk, that may be their starting point. But
Absolutely.
with my approach and with my framework, we're going to do all of it, right? So we're going to take our time and we're going to hit all 6 areas and we're going to do it you're going to be ready to receive it whenever your time is. And
Wow.
the good thing is let's say we're working on food or movement, the mindset behind the food and movement is how we start doing that at the same time. So, um, so yeah, for me though, I will say, I always say you cannot outnourish a crappy mindset.
Oh no. And Carolyn May said, I don't know if you ever heard, I'm much older than you, so it might have been way back. She said, people who eat dog food will be healthier than green juice vegetarians if they have toxic minds.
Yes.
So I was the main reaction of me when I got cancer, I was incensed, horrified, and shocked because I was an organic vegetarian meditator,
Yeah.
exerciser.
Yeah.
How does this happen to me?
Yeah. Yeah. And me too. I was pretty darn healthy. Like if I could, I'm pretty good at like, okay, if you want to eat this way, do this. I can make myself do it pretty quickly. And so that's a very small percentage, but I had a lot to clean up and I did clean up, but yeah, it was really that mindset. Or I don't know if you experienced this, the my framework, these 6 areas, they're in a hub. It's the habit hub for better health, better autoimmune health. But the hub is on purpose because, excuse me, the hub is on purpose because if you focus on one area, the other ones may shrivel up and it's going to be real bumpy.
Wow, I love
And
this.
so I was in a phase where I didn't want inflammatory oils to touch my body. And so I was saying no to dinners out with friends because it was a restaurant. And so my connection spoke, which is another area, was shriveling.
Oh, wow.
So we just need this balance of all
Hmm.
these things help our bodies be healthy and our minds be healthy. And we need to have a system to give them each the attention they deserve because we're all going to
Wow.
neglect one.
That is astounding. And Anita Majani said it's one of the first books I read when I got cancer is Absolutism Makes You Sick. And let
Ooh,
me
I
tell
love
you,
that.
I put my hand up. I knew as soon as I read that in her book that so I
I
had to
love
throw
that.
out actually all my belief systems because I was so absolute about healthy food and this and that was half the reason I got sick actually. So,
Yeah, I
and
love
can you
that.
want to talk us through the? I love this balance you're talking about the 6 areas in your
I'd
heart
love
that
to.
you.
I'd love to. Number one is mindset, no surprise. That's how we're thinking and feeling. So things that other people will never know are happening, they matter the most. I mean, if you're looking at me, I could be sitting here thinking and feeling thoughts that are tearing my body down, or I could be, bathing myself with more loving thoughts. So mindset is its own spoke. It also is a part of all the other ones, but it deserves its own spoke because working on our mindset is an action that is worth, spending time on. The second one is food, no surprise. The third one is movement. The fourth one is rest and relaxation. So that includes sleep, it includes how we handle stress. The fifth one is connection, and that's relationships to others, relationships to ourself. Again, building that self-compassion, that self-awareness, and that self-trust. And then the last one is the one that is less talked about. I call it the good stress, and the good stress has quotes, the good, because it's short stresses that we put ourselves under in the name of growth. And so
Oh,
an obvious good stress would be physical good stress, right? You can lift weights. We know the muscle is being broken down and that it hurts, but we're like, good, we're getting stronger. The other types of good stress are emotional good stress. Back to what we talked about. How do we allow ourselves to feel fear or discomfort? Because we know that getting through that will help us on the other side. Cognitive good stress, so challenging our brain, learning new things, like learning about how to change our habits. That's a wonderful good stress that keeps us cognitively sharper. And then the last type of good stress, and again, this is all under that sixth area, is metabolic good stress. So in autoimmunity, sometimes playing with how often we eat can help with some cellular repair, playing with hot therapy, cold therapy, that can help. I wanted the framework to be all inclusive so that you never have to wonder, how does this fit into my health plan? When you read a book or you see something on social media and you're like, "Oh, I want to try it." We have to have a framework to bring it back to so that you can see how it makes sense. And so any habit or lifestyle that you want to work on will fit into one of those six spokes. And again, we do it in a way that's real nice and balanced. You know, every January it's mindset, every February it's food, every March it's movement, and so on and so on. So in a year, you get to visit each area twice. And that doesn't mean that you don't have goals in other areas, but it just means you're giving it a little bit of the focus to be sure that you like your habits in that area, to be sure that it's something that feels good.
so you do one-on-one coaching, as I understand. So that's when you would work with somebody. But are you talking about now a community hub that you've got with these
Yeah, I
monthly?
actually I actually do group. It's called the Club or it's called Club Habit Hub. I do some
Okay.
one-on-ones, but it's their clients have had for several years that have stayed. So one-on-ones is a lot smaller. I keep a few spots open. So if a club member is like, you know what, I want to go deep on something, Amy, or I just want a little extra
Okay.
support, then I do some one-on-one from the club. But for the most part, the club is a beautiful entry point to come in and get to learn these processes. I coach live. We coach live every single week. Again, there's a community and there's teachings and a curriculum in there as well, so that people have the support they need to really make a plan for what they want and then the sweet spot follow through on it.
So is it a membership
Membership.
community where and you have a meeting once a week? Is that right?
Yep, we do some extra things as well, but we have a habit of every Thursday. It's today, and today's Thursday. We're filming, so we meet live every week because personalized, like I mentioned, learning this, how I said, 10 different people could have 10 different things that are causing fear.
Yeah.
Getting to actually, me talk to you and let's find your thing. Like we need that human interaction. And so, yes, the meeting live, the coolest part is let's say that, there are people on the group that get to watch because there's a difference of being the one getting coaching. That's like a cool kind of magic, but there's a different kind of magic watching someone else
Oh,
while
interesting.
you apply it to
Mm.
yourself. Because you're kind of like an outsider. You kind of get to see like, oh, and the truth is we have all sorts of diagnoses. So I think there's 10 to 12 different diagnoses represented in the group. We
Wow.
spend a whole lot less time talking about the diagnosis and we talk about this autoimmune health we're creating. So it's a neat it's awesome. It's awesome. I there's nothing that I love more.
So how many people do you have on a group at a time,
On a
approximately?
time, the average attendance, I would say, is anywhere from 8 to 15.
Okay.
But there are more people in the group, but it's designed so that you don't have to come to every call, right? It's not that I don't want people spending all their time. If you're out living life, you don't have to come. The replays are available. So I have some members that never come live to watch every single replay.
Okay.
Yeah, so there at this time there are about 45 or 50 people in the group in
Wow.
total.
So
Um,
for their membership, they get, I assume, information that you've put together, knowledge, or
They do. There's three. The trifecta of support is a community that I curate. So that's we're applying the science-packed strategies of habit change in a really not in a free community that a lot of people have been exposed to, where people are kind of giving unsolicited advice and they're dumping, it's a very purposeful, supportive,
mm-hmm.
this is what helps us change and this is what helps us thrive. So the community is one part. Again, the coaching is the second part. So that's where we come together live. And then the curriculum's the third part. So I teach these things, I teach the tools, um, I do workshops, and they exist inside the curriculum. I call it the Netflix of autoimmune health. So they're there if and when, like let's say you want to learn what's Amy's framework for fatigue, like how do I handle this? We can go in and learn what we need when we need it. If we want to learn what are inflammatory foods, what's a well-balanced movement program, what can I do if I can't sleep? You go in and you get what you need when you need it. You don't have to go in
Incredible.
and watch them all.
Incredible. So you can just take out what you feel you need. And then is
Totally.
there discussion and connection on the group, sharing safe space for people to share?
So safe.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful. I love
in the
it.
yeah, in the call they really see each other working through things. In the community that's really built in between. Every Wednesday is Wednesday. We celebrate something going well. It's science
Wednesday.
backed,
Oh.
and so people encouraging each other. They connect with each other offline. They have an option to share their numbers and things. But the coolest part is, all of this is distilled into something I call the ABC Habit Playbook. And the ABC Habit Playbook is 20 strategies, 20 plays that are science backed, they're simple, they are supportive, they're strategic, and they're the how of habit change. And the cool thing is, it's not telling you and you and you what to do. It's helping you learn the concept behind the strategy, and then it invites you to apply it for you. What makes sense for you? That's the self piece that always
Yes.
has to be at the
Fantastic.
center. Yeah. So you have access to that. That's the coolest. I think I use it. I mean, I'll go in and I'm like, okay, what do I need? I want to change this. And I will go listen to myself teach on it from 2 years ago. And
Wow,
I'm like,
that's
okay, this
amazing.
time I'll be like, I'll use it this time for that time. It's cool. It's cool.
This sounds astounding what you're doing because it's so multifaceted support. It's scientific, but it's community. Tell me a little bit about why you think community is so important.
We're really wired to belong. That feeling of belonging is super nourishing. And being in a space with people, you know the difference if you feel like I belong here versus I'm just in this group and what's everybody doing. And I love there's the science backed part of it is that in our ancestors in tribes, when somebody isn't connecting with the tribe, it's sensed and that
Oh,
person will slowly start to have their systems shut down because it's seen that they are going to be a drain on the greater good.
wow.
So we need to contribute. We need to, again, that inner habit of feeling like we are seen, feeling like we're heard, feeling like we can ask questions. It changes everything. Even people, I have one member who is so precious, and on a call when she was considering joining the club, she said the words, I am not a joiner. I'm not a like that was an identity that she carried. And so we just played with the idea, what if you are a joiner? And over
Wow.
a year later, she still brings it up in posts. She's like, I said I was not a joiner once. Like that,
I've got
that can
goosebumps.
change.
Yeah.
That can change.
Oh,
So,
my
you know,
heart feels so expansive when you talk about this. I think that really is a missing link out there is for because when you have an autoimmune, look, I'm not embedded in it like you are, but autoimmune can be quite a lonely path because
mm,
it's also a like, I think people, I suppose any illness, but autoimmune's got a sort of a hat that it wears where people
yeah,
somehow feel like you should just get out of bed and get on with it
I
sometimes.
know, I know. And that's the coolest part is, we have people in there running races and marathons and climbing mountains. We have people in there who are in wheelchairs. And it's not
Wow.
about what we're physically able to do. It is about our inner world of how we are thinking and feeling. I mean, because two different people doing
Wow.
very different things, if we feel like, I have a good life, it doesn't matter what that external stuff is.
Oh, wow, you're making my heart
Oh,
expand. Oh, no, this is the crux of. Before we started, you suggested that maybe we talk about the definition of healing because it's a very nuanced and out there. I feel it's quite contaminated, if I may bravely say so, because what
yes.
is healing? Healing is not going from lying on the bed ill to running marathons and now I'm healed. What if it is just beautifully from the inside out living with it? Because we truly can cultivate, I'm not saying it's easy,
Yes.
cultivate peace and joy in any suffering or difficult situation, actually.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so if you're enabling people to be in the wheelchair but feel well, I mean that is, or
Yeah.
if they're enabling and they're taking ownership of, because the only thing, let's be honest, Amy, if you're in a wheelchair or you've got some really hectic thing, what is the one thing that you do have control over by and large?
Yeah.
What
You're
is the
thinking about
one
it.
thing that you can work with
Yeah.
yourself? It's this inside out stuff. It's your
Yeah.
mind. It's how you approach your
Yeah.
situation. So,
Well, and if we look at life, right? So if we are younger and we look, okay, when I'm older, I want to be feeling connected to my family. I want to be giving purpose. I want to have joy. I think of it as we're on our way and a diagnosis is like a roadblock that comes up. But you notice that your GPS doesn't just say, oh, sorry, it says rerouting, rerouting, rerouting. And so that's what we are doing is we know where we want to get to. And again, our emotional wealth is the prize, how we feel
Wow.
day to day.
Sure.
And so if we're willing to reroute to get there, then
Wow.
we're unstoppable. Like we're unstoppable because there's no thought or feeling that is not available to any of us.
That's incredible. And in fact, that then becomes the gift in
Yes.
illness because the body never lies, you know. And truly, my brutal cancer, it's sometimes hard for me to say this, but because I feel it might trigger people, but it was the biggest gift life ever gave me, to be honest,
Yeah.
because it set me on the journey, and you alluded to that earlier on. It sets you on a journey if you take
Yeah.
the opportunity
Yeah. And if you're
to
hearing that,
change. Yeah. Sorry, no, carry on.
no,
Change,
no, no.
transform, and you, to use your words, but I would use them myself, is to have an even better life, actually.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. And if you're hearing this and you're like, this is not a gift, I always say, you don't ever have to say that it's going to be a gift. I promise you. But, but if you do want it to, this is the best chance. These are the steps to get there.
Yes,
And it's a
okay.
nice side effect that sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't. But yeah, just like you said, you don't want to
Mm.
trigger people. Same way where when I say my life could be better, again, it's not this oh, good for her, she got lucky. No, it's the work behind it that we can, reroute and do those things.
Yeah, and one thing I love many things about what you do and how you do it, but it's changing micro habits. I mean,
Mm.
one micro habit at a time. And we're all in such a rush, to
Yeah.
change our thoughts or get better. So, I love the way you frame things and your words, the way you frame things, because it's, thank you. Thank
Oh,
you. I
thank
don't know if
you.
you want to add any. There's so many other things we could talk about, but I think the core essence of this message that's come across feels so exciting to me because um and I'm sure that people would love to tune into your work and what you do if they need an autoimmune community and guidance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I have a podcast. It's called Autoimmune Health Secrets. And it's called that because I joke that the fact that habits can help us be happier and healthier is not a secret. But I think what the secret is how to actually do them and to sustain them. So that really, I promise I'm not holding any secrets. I share them all on
you
the
call
show.
it the secret sauce. I've listened to so many of your podcasts.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, you are a magical being.
Aw, aw.
Thank you that we had this conversation today.
Thanks for your bravery to be able to be my subject for a little bit of that thought work that we were doing. Yeah,
I've gone on such a deep journey, and I still am, of feeling my. I don't shy away from sharing my mind state or my illnesses or whatever, because I would say, in recovery. It's probably you probably have a much more beautiful word. I'm a highly recovered person, but that doesn't mean I don't relapse, especially
yeah.
mentally, even with
Yeah.
food, with any of it, we can relapse, but
Oh,
it's
me
about
too. Yeah,
recognizing the relapse symptoms, getting back on track, being
yeah,
kind to ourselves and
yeah.
soft and self compassionate.
Well, and zooming out, we're talking about this all through the lens of diagnoses, but I grew up in the 80s and my mom loved Tina Turner. And so therefore
Mhm.
I love Tina Turner. And she lived a tough life with a lot of circumstances that were
Yes.
not ideal. It wasn't related to health, it was related to relationships and but she has a quote that said, in every single moment, we always have a choice. Sometimes it's just a thought, but we always have a choice. So a reminder that we're human. We are using our diagnosis and our health as potentially the thing to help us, learn about ourselves. But other humans out there without whatever we're going through, they're going through it too. And seeing Tina having to learn the same thing I did, or I learned it after her, but all we have in that moment is a thought. And thank goodness our thoughts are tied to our feelings because that's what gives us the power to also, tap into an emotion that feels more nourishing and a place we want
Yeah,
to
and in
be.
fact, that is the human journey. And I'm inspired and grateful that you're doing this work in this way because I think this information is pretty well known in most of us who are
Yeah,
into any kind of health or consciousness circles. But I don't see a lot of real help out there. I might get hung and strung
yeah,
for this, but very
no,
holistic, practical,
yeah.
community held. So
I
thank you
think a
for
lot of
doing
people doing the work are understandably, they want to protect their time and they want to make things more, go and learn this. And we just have to have the human piece. There's, especially with AI coming out, I'm not worried at all because AI
it.
can never replace us coming
Never,
and
ever.
being in a, even if it's a Zoom room, mine's Zoom because I get to be with people all over the world, but it can never replace that back and forth interaction. The thing that I need to teach someone, I don't know what it is until they tell me what's going on with them.
Well, exactly.
So
And AI is will never take that place
never.
ever.
And the habit greats, like James Clear, everybody knows Atomic Habits. It has been number one on the bestseller list for 6.5 years. But how do we like that's my mission. How do we take the wisdom and research and expertise on
Yes.
those pages and bring them into our real life? Like, and I
Yes.
package it up hopefully in a way that is usable and tangible. But I'm just so grateful to everybody who, again, is doing their work. But you're right. I do feel a difference in the way I approach it. I think it's just because I need it to, and I did it myself. So I got lucky
Yeah,
that
when
way.
we have to do it for ourselves, I think we become quite powerful guides
Yeah,
for others. And I can reflect back on my journey that I did too much of it myself and
yeah,
without a lot of this. But that's also okay because I am where I am. But
yeah,
I can just see the benefit totally of everything you do. So
yeah.
in the show notes below, we'll have all your links to your
Cool.
podcast and everything. And
Yeah.
thank you for today. And maybe we'll be having some more conversations. Let's see.
I know I would love it. Yeah, and if anybody wants to talk, that'll be in there as well. And I know sometimes I think the biggest barrier to getting support is the idea that you don't need support. And
Hmm.
that is a belief that we want to eradicate because we don't do anything hard
Absolutely.
alone. I mean,
No.
it's not even that we need it. Like, what if we just want to not have to figure out things on our own? And I think that's a beautiful,
I think that's a beautiful way to end because a lot of us have this belief system we've got it and we've also been conditioned to go, you got this, it's all inside of you. And it is, but it's part of this whole holistic
yeah,
thing that we
yeah,
need to do this alone, but we need support and we need proper help. So
yeah. Thank you so much for your time and your
it's so
energy and your beautiful
exciting.
story. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for being here and bless you. Bye, Amy.
Bye.